Moldova's fears stem from the fate of Ukraine, a country devastated by war and now staring at a possible nuclear disaster. The risk is mounting by the day. Russia has seized at least 2 Ukrainian nuclear plants, and its troops are now advancing to claim a third. This is Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Russian troops captured it in the month of March this year. And 4 months on, it remains a battleground, a site of intense military activity. I'll tell you what happened here last week. Explosions rang out at this facility on Friday. Some units of the plant were damaged. After military projectiles, accusations were fired. Moscow and Kiev blamed each other for heightening the risk. Then on Saturday, rockets were fired. They struck a dry storage facility. They damaged containers with processed fuel and broke 3 radiation monitoring detectors. Now, these are basically machines that warn of nuclear leakage. Hence the name, radiation monitoring detectors. Now they're broken. Ukraine says this will make the timely detection of radiation leak impossible. It says a catastrophe was miraculously avoided this time, but such miracles cannot last forever. So who was behind these attacks? Ukraine blames Russian troops. It says the attack was deliberate and aimed at wreaking havoc on Europe. Russia, of course, does not agree. It has blamed Ukrainian troops, accusing them of trying to frame Russia. Listen to this.
Today, the occupiers created another very dangerous situation for all in Europe. They shelled the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant and have done it twice in a day. This is the largest nuclear station on our continent, and any shelling is an overt, blatant crime, a terrorist act. Russia has to bear the responsibility just for creating a threat to the nuclear power plant.
Ukrainian units of the 44th Artillery Brigade shelled the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant from near Marhanets on the opposite bank of Kakhovka Reservoir. Ukrainian shelling damaged Kakhovskaya high-voltage line, which supplied electricity to Zaporizhzhia and Kherson regions. A power surge occurred at Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, causing smoke in the plant's open switchgear.
These are nuclear reactors we're talking about. This is very dangerous territory, the last place to fight a war. Zaporizhzhia is a nuclear plant, and it's not just another nuclear plant. It is the largest plant of its kind in Europe. It contains over 2,000 tons of high-level spent fuel. Out of this, 855 tons is vulnerable spent fuel, meaning if the plant's electricity grid fails and there's no active cooling, this spent radioactive fuel could overheat, evaporate, and eventually start leaking. Russia knows this. Ukraine knows this. Yet they chose to fight in the vicinity of this plant. This is reckless and dangerous, not just for these 2 countries, but for the rest of the world too. The United Nations chief is calling their actions suicidal.
Any attack to a nuclear plant is a suicidal thing, and I hope that those attacks will end. And at the same time, I hope that the IAEA will be able to have access to the plant and to exercise its mandate competencies.
The timing of this warning is striking. It came on Saturday, the 6th of August, also remembered as Hiroshima Day. 77 years ago on this day, the world's first atomic bomb was fired in Japan's Hiroshima. On the morning of August 6, 1945, the US detonated an atom bomb over the city of Hiroshima. The force of the explosion was equal to 15,000 tons of TNT, trinitrotoluene. It's a powerful explosive substance. It razed 90% of the city's houses to the ground and caused an estimated 140,000 deaths by the end of 1945. 140,000 people dead. 3 days later, on the 9th of August, the US detonated another bomb. This time in Nagasaki, the explosion took ground temperatures to 4,000 degrees Celsius. As radioactive rain poured from the sky above, Nagasaki was leveled in a matter of seconds. Almost 74,000 people lost their lives by the end of 1945, and it did not end there. Those who survived the bombings fell victim to the radiation it released, terrible side effects like cancer, malnourishment, birth defects, some of which last to this day. It's been over 7 decades. The risk of another nuclear tragedy has never looked this real. The conflict at Ukraine's nuclear plants tells you How we're just one mistake, one miscalculation away from a nuclear Armageddon. I want to wrap this story with some images capturing the horrors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, hoping that these sites will jolt the world into preventing a repeat. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.